It's currently 111 degrees. I am dripping sweat. It is so hot. I am dripping sweat. It is so hot. All right, so we are in the middle of a heat wave in northern Montana. I thought I had driven north far enough to get away from the heat, but I have not because it's currently 111 degrees. And the low for the night is 73, but that's at 4 a.m. And it's not supposed to get down to 80 until 1 a.m. So I hope my portable AC is enough to keep me cool through the night. I'm hoping that tomorrow I will be able to drive far enough north to get out of the heat. I'll be in North Cascades National Park, and I think the high was around 80, so it's a little bit cooler up there. The heat wave is supposed to go till, I think, Monday, but tonight should hopefully be our last night suffering in the heat.
A gang to the party with me. 5 white boys, but they not in sync.
It's so hot that I have to hold my camera in front of the AC vent so it stops overheating, because it's already overheated 3 times on the drive over here, and that's with the car's AC on. Wow, there's a lot of people here. All right, so I actually decided not to stay at that spot that I just pulled into because there's just too many people and I don't feel like dealing with it. So I'm driving to another spot that's just down the road, right on the river. That'll hopefully be a better spot for sleeping tonight. All right, so this is the spot we're gonna stay at. It's just kind of right on the side of the road, but at least there's nobody else here, so it'll be a little more peaceful sleeping and hanging out. And I'm also right on this river. I don't think there's any access down to it, at least easy access down to it, so I don't know if I'm gonna head down there. But at least we've got this spot all to ourselves and no one will bother us unless we get kicked out in the middle of the night, which is always a risk, especially when you're parking on the side of the road. But even if I was to get kicked out, or if a cop came up to me in the middle of the night, I would just tell him that I was really tired and I wanted to sleep and rest before I kept driving because I didn't want to fall asleep at the wheel, and I feel like they'd be fine with that. So worst thing that can happen is I get kicked out and told to move. I don't think I'm gonna get a ticket or anything, but it still is incredibly hot out. But the good thing is the sun is setting, so we probably only have like 30 minutes of sunlight actually left. But even now, I mean, we're mostly in the shade because it's like right behind those trees. But even in the shade, this heat wave is something else. It is so crazy hot. And honestly, during the day, especially when I have the doors open, the heat isn't too bad. Even when it's like 108 degrees in the back of the van right now, but it doesn't feel too uncomfortable. The only thing that really sucks is trying to sleep when it's this hot, because it's basically impossible, even with my AC on, because the AC that I have really isn't that powerful. But most nights it does just enough to help me get to sleep. But I have never stayed in a spot that's this hot, and I've even camped in Death Valley, and I think this spot is hotter than it was on that day that I was in Death Valley. So since it's so hot out, I don't really feel like slaving over a stove or cooking anything. So tonight for dinner, I'm making shrimp ceviche. And I couldn't find any fresh shrimp in the store because I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere, so they didn't have a big selection. So I just got this frozen shrimp, but I read online that this should be fine to use for ceviche. So in order to make ceviche, you need like a grotesque amount of limes. So I bought 10 limes because apparently that's how many you need to cook your shrimp. And then red onion, tomatoes, 1 lemon, because apparently 10 limes is enough, cilantro, and then the recipe that I'm using called for cucumbers, but I don't really like cucumbers and they make my throat itchy, so I got celery as a substitute because I looked online and it said that celery is a good substitute for cucumber. All right, so I don't know about you guys, but I get 90% of my recipes from TikTok, so that's where we're going.
Popular Mexican street food, and there are many
this is the one we're
different types of
following.
tostadas.
How's it going? Some people are riding by on paddleboards. I wish I had a paddleboard, that'd be kind of fun. One half down, 19 to go. All right, if I wasn't sweating before, I'm sweating now. That is the aftermath of hand juicing 10 limes and 1 lemon. I got about that much juice. I'm hoping it's enough. I got really as much as I could. I mean, I absolutely demolished these limes. All right, so now I gotta add cilantro, serrano peppers, a little bit of that juice, and then some salt, and blend all that up. That looks about good. I gotta cut up the shrimp. And now we just mix everything together in this plastic bowl. Red onions and celery, and then the rest of the lime juice. I forgot to add in my pepper mix, so I'll add that in too. Put some foil over it, and then we'll let this marinate in the fridge for 20 minutes. All right, well, I thought that was going to be a nice relaxing meal to cook on a hot day when it's 104 degrees out, but it ended up being quite the opposite because I forgot to buy a juicer and had to juice 10 limes completely by hand. And now I'm drenched in sweat. It's 104 degrees out and I have to go to bed like this later, so that's nice. Dinner's ready. Let's see how she looks. Beautiful. It's so crazy how the lime like actually cooks the shrimp. Like it turns it pink, like if you actually cooked it in a pan. It's just so weird. But this should be all done. I'm hoping it's all cooked and good enough to eat. But now the last thing we have to add is the tomatoes, because according to the video, you add the tomatoes before you put it in the fridge and let the shrimp cook, that the tomatoes stop the shrimp from cooking. So you got to add it after. So that's what I'm going to do. And just in case you were wondering, it is 100 degrees in the back of the van now, so it's cooled off a little bit. Still pretty miserable, but at least it's cooling off a little bit. Here's your van life ceviche on a nice hot summer day. Beautiful. Also, just in case you guys were wondering, my camera has overheated 5 times since I started recording this, so that's fun. And this is really good. It's really spicy, but good. I'm also hoping that the shrimp is cooked all the way, because this is the first time I've ever made homemade ceviche. I've had it in restaurants before and I absolutely love it, but I've never made it at home before. I mean, it looks cooked though. Like, I mean, it's pink, it's white all the way through. I feel like I should be fine. I'll let you guys know if I get any kind of intestinal problems on my TikTok. I also have like a ton extra, so I have like lunches for the next 3 days at least. Alright, that was actually really good, but now it's time to go get ready for bed. Alright, so since it's so hot, I'm going to set up my AC to try to hopefully help me get a good night's sleep tonight, because if I don't set it up, I'm not going to, because it is still 98 degrees and it won't be down to 80 until 1 a.m. So without it, I don't think I'm going to be able to get any sleep, so let's get that set up. So I think I've said this before in a video, but I keep it in the front seat up here just because it's so big and there's really kind of nowhere else I can store it, so I just keep it up there because I don't have anyone else with me, so I never use this chair anyways. But when I set it up, I just set it on this counter right here, and then this is like the little drain tube for it, so I just shove this down into the sink, so that way if there's any condensation, it won't leak out into the van. And then I keep the rest of the attachments and stuff for it under here. So I've got 2 like air ducting tubes, and then the plug to plug it into the wall. Basically, I just plug it into the wall right here and plug this into the back of the AC, and then I can attach the tube onto the back, which basically directs the hot airflow that comes out from cooling the system And it came with this like black foam piece for like to insert it into a window and have the ducting going outside of your window. But I obviously don't have any windows that I can keep open. So I put these 2 pieces of Velcro on the back, and then I just stick it up to the ceiling where my vent fan is. So it just Velcros right up here. And then I take this tubing and just extend it up and shove this ducting up there so that all the hot air gets sucked out my vent. And I have the vent turned on to exhaust out, so it's pulling all that air out. And then after that, I can come around to the front side and hook up the other tubing. This part's kind of unnecessary, but it helps like direct the cool airflow to cool me off the best. Man, it is hot. I'm sweating so much. And then I can kind of extend this out so that it like reaches over to my bed and cools me off while I'm laying in bed, because that's the only part of the van that I care about keeping cool. All I gotta do to turn it on is flip my inverter on, and then it'll turn on by itself. Well, it won't turn on, but it'll power up. And then I actually have a remote for it in here, so I can control it from my bed. And I just turn it on. And it has these 3 different settings. So it has like rocket ship, which is like the most powerful mode, normal mode, and then sleep mode, which uses the least amount of power. So I'm gonna turn it on sleep mode for now and see what temperature we can get out of it, and then turn it up if I think I need to. Also, another small thing that I do to keep myself cool is I'll just take this fan, turn it on, and then hang it right here so it like blows air on me while I'm sleeping. So when this thing turns off, at least I have something keeping me a little bit cool. I've also got to turn the lights off, at least the main lights, to try to conserve some power, just so I can keep this thing running for as long as I possibly can. So I wasn't getting cool enough air from the night mode right now. I might switch it to that later, but I changed it to like the middle setting. And right now, I don't know if you guys are able to see that, but we're getting 66-degree air, which is actually pretty good. And it feels so good. I also have to change out of these sweaty clothes before I hop in my bed. We're definitely gonna have to go find a shower tomorrow because I feel disgusting. And also another trick that I do when it's like super hot like this and I have the AC on, because like the AC really doesn't cool like my entire body. Like it only really cools the spot that it's blowing on, so I'll keep it on my chest. But, and it might sound a little bit counterintuitive, if I put the blanket over me and then stick the little nozzle under the blanket, it like puffs it up and cools my whole body off with this, like, because like this thing isn't built to cool off the entire van, but it will cool off the space under this blanket and keep me so cold. And now I can just sit in this cocoon of cold air and cool off a little bit, and then hopefully try to fall asleep later tonight. I actually just remembered that I have a external power bank under this bench that I think is fully charged. Ow. Yeah, this thing is fully charged, so I can actually plug the AC unit into this and run it all night long, so I will get a magnificent night's sleep. And then plug it into here and turn that on. And I won't have to worry about killing my van's battery because I can drain this thing all the way to 0 and not have to worry about it. I'm so glad I remembered that. All right, I got the AC on under the blanket. It's like 9:30. I'm gonna go to bed. I will catch you guys in the morning. Good morning. So the battery bank died at some point last night. I don't know when. I didn't wake up, but when I woke up this morning, and it was back to being 101 degrees in the back of the van. I just plugged it into the wall and turned my inverter back on because since the sun is out, it doesn't really matter because I won't drain my battery bank. But I think for now, I'm getting out of here. I'm driving north. I'm getting out of this heat. So I will catch you guys next time.